do this. Hey Joey, I have made the terrible decision to, in my time of reading slump, life slump, where I've read like 100 pages in the last 2 weeks, to go through my physical TBR and tell you the books that I have purchased in this calendar year of 2024, but have not read yet. I keep this in my spreadsheet down at the bottom of my TBR tracker, what books I acquire month to month. And two things that this experience have showed me already without even going through them yet. One, I'm not very good at actually putting them in there, because this little stack is all the ones that just by visually looking at them, I realized that I bought in this calendar year and didn't put on the spreadsheet. So we'll go over those last. And also that I buy too many books, which I did know. And to be fair, I read a lot of books, but let's just get into it. I'm gonna kind of rapid fire, and I might give some excuses. I'll try not to, because excuses, but just, you know, because some of these have a reasoning, which really is just an excuse. But anyway, okay. This is A Starlit Secret to a Sensational Afterlife. I'm pretty sure that I got this as part of a buy one, get one at Barnes & Noble. And it's YA and it sounds really interesting, but it never has been my #1 choice when I go to pick up a collection of things. The Fragile Threads of Power. I haven't read A Darker Shade of Magic yet. I bought this because it was half off at Barnes & Noble and I knew that I was gonna read Darker Shades of Magic. You'll find out I didn't even own them when I bought this, but it was half off and it was the hardcover, and so I wanted to get the hardcover at half off, so I bought it. But I literally couldn't have read it at that point. A Sanctuary of Shadow. This has a circus tent on it. That's why I bought it. It has pretty sprayed edges too, but I had like just read The Night Circus and might have been reading Caraval, or was like thinking about reading Caraval, and I just love a circus theme. I then found out that maybe this doesn't have as much of a circus element as the cover led me to believe, and so I never read it. I then have Arch Enemies and Supernova. I bought Renegades the same time I bought these, and I read Renegades. I just haven't gotten to these yet because I'm kind of stressed out because I can't tell who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. And I can just get the audiobooks from the library and like finish this whole series in like a week. I just haven't yet. I have been thinking about it a lot during my slump though, so maybe I will do that. I just haven't yet. Again, but better, I like Christine, and so I wanted to read her book, and it was like $3 or something at Half Price Books because it was like on clearance or something, and I know that I want to get to this at some point, and so I bought it, but I haven't read it. Broken Throne. This was also at the Half Price Books. I haven't finished the Red Queen series yet, but I wanted to... This is so funny to say now in November after picking this up in January, but I had all of the intentions of rereading the Red Queen series, and then I would read this when appropriate, but I obviously didn't. So that was January. Let me figure out which one of these stacks is for February. Okay. February actually wasn't that bad. Should I tell you how many total books I acquired that month? Would that be an interesting factoid? So of the 11 books I acquired in January, I only read 4 of them. And that was the other 7 that you just experienced. So now in February, I got One for My Enemy at the Half Price Books because I kept going there and seeing this end paper art, and the end paper art intrigued me, and so I bought this. The Mayor of Maxwell Street. This was a book of the month pick because it sounded interesting, but then it sounded kind of like maybe I should read it in the winter, and I was trying to get out of the winter in February, so I didn't read it. I bought Magnolia Parks because every person I follow on BookTube loves Magnolia Parks, and I never read it, I have intentions to read it in the short term for a video, but I haven't yet, but I bought it in February. And then Heartless Hunter was my Owl Crate book that month. So, or maybe that was the one for January, but I got it in February. Anyway, of the 11 books I got in February, I read or already had read 7 of them. So instead of only reading 4 and having 7 I didn't read, I read 7 and had 4 I didn't read. So, yes. And then March. I also will say, I know that I wasn't doing as great of a job of keeping track of what books I acquired in the months in the beginning of the year, so those like numbers of whether or not I had read all the books that I bought in said month. If I had already read it when I bought it, I wasn't writing it down at that point, but throughout the rest of the year I was doing that, so I guess just take that with a grain of salt. So March, The Last Blood Carver was the Owl Crate book. This is beautiful, gorgeous. I am starting to fall out of love with Owl Crate and the books that they choose, because I'm just not reading as much YA fantasy, and so I'm currently trying to decide what to do with my subscription. But anyway, that was the book, or that was the Owl Crate book. I didn't read it. A Fate Inked in Blood. This has shiny teal edges, so I bought it. Sue me. The Prisoner's Throne. I bought this on release day. I love the Folk of the Air trilogy. Like, have a whole shrine to it and everything. But I haven't read this yet because I don't really remember what happened at the end of The Stolen Heir, and so I wasn't feeling compelled to pick this up. But maybe I should read them both, like back to back. Another series that I didn't feel compelled to finish, Fatebreaker. I pre-ordered this like months early, but I hadn't finished Bladebreaker when I ordered it, and then I finished Bladebreaker and I just don't care. Saving 6. Now I'm also realizing that I probably also bought Redeeming 6, which I also haven't read. It's up there. I'm not getting it down. I've gotten plenty down. Haven't read it yet. I am currently reading it, but I don't think that counts. So that was March. That's what, 5 that I didn't read of like 9. I didn't buy that many books in March. I think I was technically on a book buying ban, which is so funny. But based on the fact that one of those was a pre-order, one of them I bought on release day, one of them was an Owl Crate book, and Saving 6 I bought because I had finished Keeping 13 and I wanted to start Saving 6 right away and I didn't. So, on to the next April. I bought Mrs. Nash's Ashes because someone on TikTok said that I must read this, so I went out, I think that night, and bought it, didn't read it. I just didn't. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, the entire internet was and still is talking about this. I got it as part of a buy one get one at Barnes & Noble. I kind of wish I wouldn't have bought this copy because I hate this thing. I think I want to listen to it. Having it though. I bought this copy of Dune because my dad and I went to see the Dune movie, Dune 2. And he really wants me to read it because he loves Dune. I've been 4% into this since April. I'm listening to it on Audible. I bought the audiobook on Audible, but I don't want to read it, quite frankly. But I do like that I have it because it reminds me of my dad. The Thursday Murder Club. Tried to convince my book club to read this like 2 months ago. We didn't pick it, but I think this was the other thing I bought on that buy one get one half off with Addie LaRue, because it sounds really fun. Another thing that probably would get me out of this slump, but I'm still trying to get through the book that I started that I haven't read. And then Your Blood, My Bones was the Owl Crate book. Need I say more about the way that I feel about it? Doesn't matter. So that was April. That's another 5, but it was 5 of 15. So I read or already had read 10 of the books that I acquired that month. Next up is May, which I think may be the best ratio, but I bought a whole series I had already read in May, so it doesn't feel that good in hindsight. I got Will They or Won't They, but I got this at a book swap, so I didn't actually buy it, so it feels less bad. It was really just because if you brought something, you had to take something. But so I was only partially interested, which I know is a bad thing. All of this is a bad thing. Anyway, the Dixon Rule, another thing that I bought the week it came out, but then all of the reviews were talking about the spice level, and it made me scared. So I haven't read it, but it is hockey season, so maybe I will read it soon. The True Love Experiment, I bought this at the Half Price Books. This is, oh, it's not, oh it is, it's a Book of the Month copy, but I got it at the Half Price Books because the paperback of this came out and I found out that it has that weird little half flap thing, and so I saw it in the hardcover and I liked the other 2 Christina Lauren books I read, other three, and so I wanted to read this, but I knew that if I was going to read it I would need the hardcover, and so I bought it, but I haven't read it yet. And then Song of Six Realms was the Al Grey book. I really do feel bad about it. I need to, like, maybe I'll make a video of like reading my past Al Grey books because I haven't read any of them. So that was May. I acquired 16 books. I did not read 4 of them. So like I said, feels good, but not really. This next one I can't even pick up because the stack is so big, which will be kind of the theme for the rest of the video. So in June, I bought The Perfect Couple because I had gotten it from the library as an ebook, and I was like, certainly, I'm gonna read it. I ended up letting my loan expire and I didn't read it, and then I took it, this honkin' thing, on a vacation, didn't read it there either, so that's great. The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I read like 1 mystery thriller book and I was like, oh yeah, it's mystery thriller summer. And so I picked up this and many more, as you'll see. Didn't read any of them. Including The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. Again, thought I was gonna read a bunch of mysteries, didn't. One Star Romance was my actual Book of the Month pick. I got this and a different Book of the Month book, and I read the other one, but I didn't read this one. Like, this was the one I got so that I could get the box, and I do think it sounds really interesting. But again, it just hasn't been the one that I've picked up of all the books that I have. I got This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, and then discovered that this is the second one, I think, and I can read the first one on Kindle Unlimited, but it felt like in order to get this off my TBR, I'd have to read 2 books, whereas like some other books that if I read them, they would immediately get off my TBR. And that's not the way to think about things, but that's where I am. But I have really been thinking about this also, as of late. Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. How many Riley Sager books do I own? 6. How many books have I read? 1. Anyway, Firefly Lane. I had in my head that this was going to be a fall read, and then it got to fall and I went to read it, and it is set in the summertime. So I just missed my window. The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. A mystery thriller that I didn't read. Of Jade and Dragons. Oh, you cannot see that. Of Jade and Dragons. The Owl Crate pick. I didn't read it. Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I pre-ordered. Because after reading one Riley Sager book, I decided that I needed it. It ended up coming signed. Still haven't read it. We're only halfway through and I'm already, like, getting wild and crazy. Anyway, let's see that I bought way too many books in June because this is when I went to Kansas City and I did an indie bookstore Kansas City book shopping time and bought a bunch of those, but I also bought a bunch at home, and now we're in this scenario. So I acquired like 25 books in June and I didn't read that many of them. I'm not gonna count them. I'm so sorry. Next up, July. Secluded Cabin Sleep 6, a mystery thriller book that I didn't read. Attached to the Hip, a Christine Riccio book I bought at the Half Price Books that I didn't read. Same time next summer, I bought this right after I bought and read Summer Romance, which I loved, but we were on the way out of the summer. I was reading other stuff, I didn't read it. here's where V.E. Schwab comes back. I got the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, haven't read it yet, but this one I do have an excuse for, because I am currently reading the Belladonna trilogy and impatiently waiting for the audiobook of Wisteria to become available at my library so that I can finish the series, and I didn't want to start another trilogy while I was reading the other one. I'm just being smart. Hello Stranger by Catherine Stenner. I got this from Book of the Month because I read The Bodyguard and I read The Rom-Commers and I liked them both a lot, and then I got the audiobook from my library to read this 2 times. Count them 2 times, didn't read it. I read so many books, but also none of them. Hotel Nantucket, I already had an Ellen Hildebrand I hadn't read yet, but then I went and I bought another one. Every Summer After, I read This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune, liked it a lot, so I decided I must have this. Didn't read it. These 2 kinda don't count. I purchased these in March, but they arrived to me in July. And I had already read Binding and Keeping 13. These are from Larry's collaboration with Eternal Embers. I feel like I should say that. Not everybody knows what I'm talking about, but these 2 I hadn't read. The other 3 I had read. I've read... this is the first Mia Sheridan book I acquired. I have read 3 Mia Sheridan books since then, but not this one. Yeah, so these 2 I didn't read. That's the theme of how many. Take a shot every time I say didn't read. Don't, you'll die. Okay, so July. I also bought too many books in July, but not as many as in June. Oh no, I acquired more books in July than I did in June. 28? That's so many. Anyway, I read a bunch of them though, just not all of them. August, this one's small enough I can pick them up. Apprentice to the Villain, I think I'm gonna read this next, but I haven't read it, so it still doesn't count. The Match and the Enemy, these were getting re-released with these new beautiful covers. I really like Sarah Adams. In hindsight, I didn't need to buy these because I haven't read Practice Makes Perfect yet, and these are just getting re-released. It's not like they were exclusive color covers, it's not like anything like that, but I probably didn't need to buy them until after I had read Practice Makes Perfect, because I'm not going to read these till I read Practice Makes Perfect, and so I ended up not buying Temporary Roomie and The Off Limits Rule or whatever, those other 2 that she re-released, and now her whole collection is out with new covers. Anyway, but I bought them, just haven't read them yet. Castle of the Cursed was the Owl Crate book. I almost started this a couple months ago, but then I didn't. Ever After Always. I am buying these Berkman Brother books one at a time, like as I read them, and I had been trying to find this one for a while, then I found it, but then I was in the middle of reading a bunch of other stuff, so I didn't read it. These 3 are 3 Owl Crate books because they did a sale on past boxes and I wanted the stuff in the boxes. This one, though, does sound really interesting to me. This one is a Rick Riordan Presents, which gives me good vibes, and this one is really cute, and so I do think that one day I will read these. I just haven't yet. So that was August. 21 books acquired that month. What is that, like 10 or so that I didn't read? It's really going downhill from here. September was really bad, but sort of not. Okay, so the stack's really big though, so it is bad. I did another independent book shopping excursion during September. So when you buy that many books at once, you can't read them all at once. She lies to herself. Also, like, I'm further removed from January. I had more time to read the books that I bought in January. I told you I wasn't gonna give you excuses. Anyway, The Indigo Spell, I'm working my way slowly through these Bloodlines books. Have I only read the first one? Yes, but I, again, am in a slump. And I didn't want to speed through them the way that I sped through Vampire Academy, and also that was the first one I acquired. I didn't even own Bloodlines when I got Indigo Spell. So, anyway, didn't read it yet. Map of the Other Lands, I'm excited to listen to this audiobook. I feel like maybe I'm waiting for it from the library, or I think I'm gonna do it on Spotify, and I ran out of Spotify hours this month because I listened to Lost and Lassoed, and so next month I'm gonna listen to this. Ruby Circle, same deal as Indigo Spell. Addicted to You, same deal as Magnolia Parks from way before. I got this because I want to do that, reading my favorite booktubers' favorite books, and this is one of them, and so I wanted to obtain a copy, and they had it at the Half Price Books. The Happily Ever After playlist, this is the only Abby Jimenez book I haven't read yet, and for some reason that's holding me from reading it, because I don't want to be done with her books, so I think I'm gonna wait till closer to when the next one comes out, so that I won't have to wait as long between them. What a silly, silly thought I'm having. Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune came out in September. I bought it. I'm waiting for the audiobook from the library. It'll be another, like, month. Small Favors I bought in September to read in September for book club, and then we pushed the book club, and so now I haven't read it. The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. I'm currently reading the Dangerous Damsel series, which we'll get to in a second. But, so I wanted to read those before I read this one. But I was able to get it for $9 at the Half Price Books, like a week after it came out, which was kind of crazy. Immortal Dark. You'll know why I'm laughing in a minute. Just haven't gotten to it yet. Bought that on the indie bookstore thing. Didn't get a chance to read it. The Golden Lily and Fiery Heart. Again, the same deal with Bloodlines. I did buy Bloodlines when I bought these, and I've read that one, so you know. Progress is progress, people. Beartown, wait until it snows. The X-Vows, waiting for the sun to come out. Wrath of the Triple Goddess, waiting till I get over the fact that it's not called the Wrath of the Triple Goddess. If We Were Villains, maybe. And then the Owl Crate book, At the End of the River Styx. Need I say more? So that was like, I don't even know. Like I think I only read like 4 of the books I got in September. I read 7 of the 24 books I got in September. In October, I got The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, again, waiting for it to snow. The Dagger and the Flame was my book of the month pick, just haven't gotten to it yet. 11/22/63, I got this copy from my parents. I have no intentions of reading this in any haste. Morbidly Yours. I should have read this during spooky season. I didn't. But I still think it's about the right time to read it. I just want to give it a fair shot, and right now I'm slumping, so, you know. The 13th Child, I bought because it has gold sprayed edges. Wisteria, waiting for it to come from the library. The Wedding Witch, waiting for it to snow, or Christmas. The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, thought was going to be set in the fall, like Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and then I would read this, and then I would read Christmas Tree Farm. It's not, so I'm trying to decide if I want to read it anyway, because it's set in the summertime. But I want to read Christmas Tree Farm during Christmas season. So, nothing like the movies, I'm scared. The Owl Crate copy of Immortal Dark. And the aforementioned Christmas Tree Farm. So that was October, and finally we're on November, the month we are currently in. I've read 7 books this month, which is a good number. Hoping to get to 10 by the end of the month. I think it's definitely doable. I think I'm like seeing my way out of this slump, but I read almost all of those books in the first like 6 days. But these are the books that I've acquired. Silver Shadows, same deal as all the other Bloodlines books. Little Women, I've been reading this for months. I just acquired a copy this month in an attempt to like push myself through finishing it. It's clearly not working. The first Zodiac Academy book goes with Addicted to You and Magnolia Parks for that video, so I bought it. The Prison Healer is the trilogy I want to start after I finish Belladonna and after I finish A Darker Shade of Magic. But it was $7 and I couldn't pass it up because I know that I'm going to read it. Bad Mother, I read All the Little Raindrops and then found out when I went to rate it on Goodreads and read the description that this one is technically supposed to be read first. Whoopsie, but then I saw them both together at the Half Price Books and it felt like fate. Why must I always think like that? Games Untold. I am really excited to read this, but someone I dislike a great deal is reading it right now, and for some reason that's stopping me from reading it. For She Is Wrath. another Owl Crate book, but in my defense I just got this one. And then one last gift I got at my library book sale for $1. And I'll read it when it's Christmas time. Kind of makes me never want to buy a book again. Because, like, how many books do we think that this is? Oh, wait, I have to tell you about the ones that I definitely acquired this year but weren't on the spreadsheet for some reason. The for some reason is just because I forgot. The Familiar came out over the summer, right? I'm almost positive. So I bought that this year, but I haven't read it yet. This is For the Wolf and For the Throne by Hannah Witten, which I got basically immediately after reading One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. I'm bringing it up again because I loved those, and these always make me think of those, and those always make me think of these, and so I bought them so that I could read them. But I don't want to read them too close, you know, because I didn't, whatever. This is The Secret Service of Tea and Treason. This is book 3 in the Dangerous Damsel series. I'm currently reading The League of Gentlewomen Witches on my Kindle, because I bought it for $2, because it was on sale. So that's the current read, and then I picked this one up. I don't own that one. I own book 1, I own book 3, but I don't own book 2, but I'm reading book 2 anyway. So that's the story there. And then The Spell Shop I got from Owl Crate. They did it as their adult book, and I like ordered it separately because Rachel read it and liked it, and so I want to read it, but I do not know when I got it. I just know that I got it this year. So let's go back to our counting, shall we? I think it's 95. I think it's 95. So so there were 150. There are 150 books on my physical TBR. And 95 are from just this year. I cannot read any faster, so I need to buy books slower. I should probably cancel my Owl Crate subscription, but I want the stuff. I don't need the stuff either. I'm not excited to put these away. That leaves, by the way, only 55 that I got before. Which that feels like a good stat, you know? Only 36% of my physical TBR has carried into this year. And I think at the beginning of the year, I had like 75 books on my physical TBR. And so the fact that I went from 75 to 150 is a problem. But that does mean that I've read only 20. 20's not that many. Never mind. I don't know what I think I'm like celebrating. I've read a lot of books that I bought though. Like in the grand scheme, how many do we think that I acquired this year? That'll be a fun thing to find out. 1 second. So obviously this is a flawed system because, as previously mentioned, I wasn't putting books that I had already read or bought and then read like immediately onto the spreadsheet at the start. But I do think that I acquired 191 books this year, which is so many. But I was about to be like, but I read more than I didn't read. 1. That means I read 96 and didn't read 95. Let's shoot for better stats next year! I also know that it's November. It is currently November 19th. And I don't think that I'll buy another book for the rest of the month, but I did order like 3 books from Algrate like last week. And the likelihood that I don't get any books for Christmas, as someone who, like, this is my whole thing, nearly impossible. But I probably won't purchase any more books for me. I don't know, but this didn't make me feel better. But I did it. Kind of makes me want to read a book, so maybe it worked.